All right, ladies and gentlemen, everybody listening, welcome. This is our first ever Crowbar Awards kickoff video. Round of applause. And we will be revealing, you click on this, you already know, the guest judge for this brief is Joe Staples. Joe Staples, you are the CCO and partner at Mother Industries. Is that correct, my friend?
That's not multiple choice. That's actually true.
Boo!
Yeah. I oversee the agencies in LA and New York, and then I help to wrangle and work with and promote and merge together design and media and production and our investments.
Investments?
We have other companies that we invest in creatively with money, time, space, and people.
Okay. It's good to know, because breaking and entering, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about that. Incredible. And Mother, give us a rundown of Mother. Actually, before that, I want to get some context about this conversation, the flow. We're going to talk about you, Joe, and then we're going to flip it over to what people want to hear about, the brief, what the brand is. We'll pick that apart. But first, Joe, we got to talk a little bit more about you as guest judge. You know, we picked the best of the best in the industry. So we're incredibly proud to have you on. We know people are going to be pumped. But tell us more about you as a CCO. Tell us about Mother. Tell us about where you've worked, just high level, some of your achievements. This is your chance on the mic to brag a little bit. If not, we'll do it for you.
Hopefully I won't brag at all. I'll just give you where I'm from, kind of how I got here, and what Mother is. Maybe Mother the first bit. Mother started when I was at art college in London, and I wasn't studying advertising, I was studying design. And one day Mother didn't exist, and then the next day it felt like, for me, Mother existed. And I had no inherent love of advertising. I didn't want to get into advertising, but there was this moment where these ads started being on air. There was, very strange to talk about it now because Oasis are getting back together. There was kind of Britpop and Oasis were happening. There was a new movement in magazines that were happening, and there was a new movement in advertising, and it all happened around this like 97, 98, 99 moment. And I think some of the famous stuff to look at, some of the early Super Noodles and Pot Noodles ads, where Mother figured out with an incredible client that you could be actually honest about people. This product is shit and you're fucking gross. If we can all agree on that, we can not only make good communication, but do a very, very good job of advertising. So from the beginning, I kind of knew about Mother. Kind of 20 years past. I spent most of my time at Wieden & Kennedy in Portland, almost my whole career at independent agencies. And I always had friends that would be at Mother, and I knew Robert and Mark who'd started Mother. And when I left Portland, when I left Wieden, there were only a few places I really, really, really would love to have talked to, and Mother was one of them. Mother was the main one. I think it's the only other independent global agency. Has always been independent. They both always have. So I basically jumped one cult for another cult.
Got it. When was that shift?
About 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Yeah. So I had to another cult and try and understand culturally how people talk, what their priorities are, what meetings are like. There's different words in different agencies, different terminology. In Nike, they would say, this information is inside the berm. And they use it like everyone in the world knows what that means. And you have to sit and go, there is technically a berm that you can run on around some of the outside of this. Oh, that means nobody outside Nike knows this information. So I think that all of these cults, agencies, good businesses have things like that. So that's
Do you think you had some influence when you showed up? You changed Mother a little bit too? Or did you have to assimilate?
I think there was a bit of both those things. I'll tell you, Dave Lure, who was the president at Wieden for a long time, I think maybe when I just started working there, I read an interview with him where he said, they asked him, why was Wieden really good at opening offices? They didn't kind of move to a city and like buy an agency and put their name on it. why are you good at that? And he said, we acknowledge the culture of thirds. And the culture of thirds was a third culture of host city, a third culture of the ECDs that run the office, and a third widened culture, whatever that is. If you work there, you probably know what that feels like. And I came here and I'm like, oh, it's thirds again. It's thirds. So I'm in New York now. I'm sitting in Gowanus, Brooklyn, in mid-city, in LA. It feels a bit like the city. The office is widened too, mother too. You walk in, you go, oh, this feels like Boreal's office in LA. This feels like Simon and Jed's. This feels like their place. And then there's that kind of indescribable.
Got it.
From each.
And how'd you break in real quick? Just give us the shortened version, how you got into this.
There was something exactly like this. I didn't even think this through, but I met a beautiful woman on a beach in Fiji when I was 19.
Oh,
we've been together 30 years.
Nice.
She's from Australia. So straight after moving from having a design degree, I moved to Australia going, what the fuck do I do? All of this design work, this isn't even design work. It's just inventions that don't even work most of the time. All it was ideas. I did a class like this one, an evening class called Award School, run for free by agencies.
Yep.
Week here, week here, week here. And I got in to do that. And then one guy, one human, literally one guy, he messaged me this morning. It's called Michael Simons. He saw this book of probably utter dog shit, but saw something there.
Right.
And the thing that he saw was, I really wanted to solve problems. Even if I had fucking put the problem in front of myself.
Yeah.
Can I make an underwater Polaroid camera? That was literally one of the things that he saw. And he was like, you're giving yourself problems and trying to solve them. Would this work if I gave you the problem? And I was like, I don't know. I truly don't know. So he got me to work. We don't do this anymore, but I worked for free for a while.
Sure.
Go, do you mean this? Do you mean this? Do you mean this? Do you mean this? And that man, Michael Simons, gave me a career.
Incredible. And where was he at?
He had just come from being a creative director on Nike in Portland. He'd moved back to Australia. He's an Australian. He'd moved back to Australia to run what was FCB Sydney. I had no idea what FCB. I'd never heard of DDB. I'd never heard of AMV. I'd never heard of any of these agencies. I just found a human being.
Right.
And that human being was caring and nurturing and saw things that I didn't see. And we were messaging this morning about me maybe going to see his son's band. And this is a child who I held.
Incredible. Incredible. I think this is all really important to understand your background and how you broke in, because it gives a little insight into maybe what you're looking for when you're judging this brief. And before we kick it to Cooper, who is our lead strategist here at Breaking and Entering, who writes the briefs with the guest judge, which is you in this scenario, I want to just do the basics. So it is September 4th right now, 9:15 a.m. Eastern time. We will be, hopefully, if things go well and my Wi-Fi works in my apartment, I will be posting this video on September 5. The brief will be live tomorrow, September 5. It'll be open for 3 months. I believe if I do the math correctly, that will mean a deadline, no extensions, will be the first week of December 5. And teams of 3, up to 3. And yeah, they can go to www.crowbarawards.com to see the brief, to submit there. And if they have any questions, they can email me at geno@breakenterpod.com. All right, Cooper, you are up, sir. Intro us this brief. What's the brand? What are we talking about for the next 3 months with these aspiring advertisers?
Yeah, so we got some nice foreshadowing in your stories, Joe, with Polaroid in there is our new brief. We have Joe Staples and the Polaroid brief. To anyone who's in the agency world already, the world nostalgia should be hot on your radar. If you're at school, probably has been too. But we want to make sure we're taking a new and unique look at it and not just looking at the word nostalgia for nostalgia's sake, and break down why people are looking backwards and changing the brief up a little bit for this quarter to give multiple ways to solve this problem. As we were talking with Joe, he's like, one way is just not enough, and we couldn't agree, and we came up with a couple really epic ones. But we're going to be talking about Polaroid, and we're going to be talking about why people are looking backwards, and why that's comfortable, and why that's such a cultural force for folks these days. Joe, I'll let you add a little color from there.
Yeah, I mean, if you work in advertising, these are conversations you're definitely having. I would say my relationship to nostalgia probably maybe changed a couple of years ago, reading 3 paragraphs of probably a New York Times article. I fucking hate it. I hate it. And I've spent my whole life trying to not look backwards, rest on no achievements and no laurels, and being really, frankly, frustrated by people who introduce themselves with things they had done. It seemed like a waste of time. Hey, there's family stuff going on here. This is almost a therapy session. But I then read an article which was about one of the reasons we look backwards is because forwards is so hard to define. And I know that's kind of like wishy-washy language, but it's never been more, tomorrow's never been crazier, right? So who the fuck knows who's getting invaded tomorrow? We don't know. Who's going to be dead on the front page of a news site? We don't know. Are people just going to burn alive because of the sun's just got to, like, what the fuck? Nobody knows what's happening. All we know is what happened is in this TV show, this date, this happened. And I know it happened, and we find warmth there. And I think for me, that just gave me some empathy for other people, an understanding of my own past. And then when we talk about brands like this, it is where it came from, but it's also what it means, what nostalgia and the past means to us now. Another thing, I'll just ramble, just give me coffee, ADHD, the Venn diagram, you're seeing it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It was somebody explained anxiety and depression. I've had panic attacks for years, and I was kind of studying this thing. I have no depression. And the way they said that anxiety is being focused on the future, and depression is being focused on the past, and the solution to both is the present. And that sounds flippant, but it's fucking wild. Anxiety is about what will happen. Depression is about holding on to these things. And this brief is trying to navigate this thing, this past, present, future, at least one of the ways in. So when we first started talking about it, and we started off with 5 different brands, right? We started, is this more interesting? Is this more interesting? This one just seemed to have different ways to attack it. So when we get into this, Coop will start talking about, we thought about this, we thought about this. These are starting points for you to sit and kind of Venn diagram it in your head of the brand plus the past and what that would mean to now. What is that? So when we start breaking this brief apart, these are the kind of, I think, listen to Cooper clearly, because these are the things that should be the solid jumping off points to Flower.
Yeah, honestly, could not have said it better. So Geno gave you guys the link. If you're listening, pull up the brief on our site and take a look at it with us. But we've pretty much summed up the background and the human problem really well, and we can say it once more to keep it really tight. But that modern life, the pace of modern life is overwhelming and disconnecting for many, and we're going to attack that problem and use the Polaroid brand as the company that's going to do it, with our target being the digital natives, another term that you should know. We're looking at folks who have grown up in the digital age. They've been surrounded by technology for a fair clip of it, and they understand the relationship between technology and how it's evolving the way we look at the future as well as the past. And we're going to be trying to get this audience to embrace nostalgia, right? We're going to lean into that comfort, lean into that inspiration and connection, but we also want to see this as a way to be looking backwards and looking forwards to come back to your now, your center, and what's happening in the world today. It's not just about the past. It's not just about the future. You can get caught up going in both those directions. And that we want to find a way to flip the script and bring the good things from the past to the future, to give people maybe a moment to slow down, or maybe a moment to think about things differently. And there are two key strategic ways in that we have for you guys to attack this brief. And the first we're kind of titling as Nostalgia is Beautiful Because It's Safe. And this is where we really want to tap into that comforting and reassuring aspect of nostalgia, highlighting on how simple and beautiful the past can be when looking backwards, right? How many people sit there and talk about the different eras that they wish that they could have grown up in? Well, I like to assume that they felt the same way back then as you do now. We just have technology that's speeding it up. And when you have your Polaroid camera, it's going to give you that second to cherish this memory, that take that one moment that you can treasure for years to come and hold it tangibly in your hand. And the second is focusing on a single moment that slows the world down, and emphasizing how the power of Polaroid can take you from these different places, from the past, from the future, and bring you right to that second, to where you're standing there almost rubbing shoulders with the person, waiting eagerly for that picture to print out the front of the camera, and knowing that there's only one picture. So you have to decide who's going to keep it and whose moment is that going to be forever, and being able to showcase, right then and now, and slowing down without looking too far into the future or too far into the past. Joe, what did I miss?
No, I was just underlining what you were saying. I was saying, listen to this fucking bit, because that's really important, right? If you haven't used one, try to use one. If you can't, talk to people who have. We gloss over that a photo is replicable. That's the right word. But the thing that Cooper just said then, which is there's one of them. So do you, the photographer, keep it? Do you, the subject, keep it? Does a third party keep it? I think, can I just ramble for a second before you jump onto the next bit? I think that also we have to think of, what does it mean when we see somebody with a Polaroid now? And what do we want it to mean when somebody pulls a Polaroid out? If you're going to go out with some friends and one of them turns up with a fucking selfie stick, you know what that means. If someone turns up with a massive fucking lens on an SLR, like, is this on an ornithologist club? What are we doing today? What are we photographing here? If somebody pulls out a phone, it all means something different. And this brief is, you could look at it this way. What does it mean when someone pulls one of these out? And that's really important. So it's, what does the camera mean? What do you do with the thing? I think this was why I was so excited when we started kind of breaking apart what about Polaroid, is you can come at it from a bunch of ways, and your brain should be exploring this stuff. Where does it go? Like, I know my mother-in-law has Polaroids on her fridge. Is that important? It has to be important some way, because there's only one of them. Sorry for keep going, jumping in.
So yeah, I mean, listen to Joe. Joe's going to be the one judging this, and being able to crawl into his brain a little is a unique way of getting to kick off this brief. So, like most of our campaigns, this is going to be, we want to see how can you bring this to life digitally as well as traditionally, and definitely think outside of the box with this one. Think about the Polaroid brand and keeping it on that brand, but also starting to push the boundaries a little bit, almost try and find ways to be the client in your own head. And then remember that the whole point of this is to help build incredible work for your book. And then the added extra pieces that you have the potential to win the Blue Crowbar, meet Joe, or get feedback from us and the team. So just focus on creating really great work that you're excited about, work that would make you excited to talk about in an interview. and reach out, connect, and work with other folks at your schools, at your agencies. Tap in someone that you don't know but know who's a really great potentially copywriter or designer. Talk to a strategist. See what their lens is on this audience and what they can go and dig up and their view from the consumer, because that's always going to set you ahead. You know,
Again, can I just double down? This is fucking Joe Mansplains Cooper, 20 minutes, so I apologize. Let me just double down on the things. He's saying stuff, it's all good, and there are some things in there that I just want you to know are really, really important. And for me, one of the really, really important things that he talked about there is what a creative director, what somebody in an agency is looking for. And I'm going to say there's only two things, really. There is, how does this person solve problems, and who are they? Who is the person? So there are some schools, not this one, that everyone comes out with loads of really good work, and I have no fucking idea whose book I'm looking at. It's really important to show yourself. I would argue that if you internalize this enough, if you method act this piece, if you absorb and really believe some of the stuff on here, show us it through you. What is your background? What is your experience? What is your culture? Bring that to the table so that a creative director understands how you solve problems and a little bit knows who you are. A little bit.
I love that. I love that. Is there any other way? Like, how can you not have yourself in your creative work show?
I think some people believe that advertising is you give yourself up to the brand.
Yep.
And there is a shittiness to that, which is you've just sold out to a salary.
Mm.
And that this third party is paying me to do their selling for you.
Right.
This is not the way to do advertising, in my opinion. In my opinion, everything I've done has been autobiographical to a sense, not in a selfish way that I'm trying to show off and my name's on it and I'm fucking bigging myself up. But you have to believe it. And if you don't believe one bit of it, believe another bit of it. I'll tell you a really quick story about Starbucks. This was a fucking lesson for me, where I lived in Portland in Oregon. I have multiple friends that had coffee shops or were baristas. Every third block is the fucking top 10 barista in the world. And I was working on Starbucks. And I would write these ads that I think were really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
You're right.
But Dan Wyden said to me, "You don't buy it, do you?" This was just in a review of him. And he said, "You don't buy it." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I think this is fucking great." And he goes, "Starbucks, though. You wouldn't buy at Starbucks." And I'd be like, "Fuck no, stupid. No, of course not. Like there's fucking 10, no."
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, "Until you know why you would buy it, this is just going to seem like ads."
Wow.
And he essentially sent me home. He didn't actually send me home, but he was just like, fucking start again. Essentially start again the way you think, not just the way you work. And I read Howard Schultz's book, and I read about how he was the first private company to give medical insurance for even part-time, full-time maternity leave. I'm like, fuck, I do believe that. I also believe that when you go in there, if you go into one of these flash coffee shops and ask for whatever you like, fucking whatever syrup you want, they'll be like, but if you go into Starbucks, they'll just make it the way you like it. So I don't want a 4,000 calorie frappuccino. I want my coffee like this. They'll do that for me. I started going through this list of things, which meant that without selling out, I now believe this brand in a certain way. Still don't buy this kind of stuff. Still don't use Starbucks for this. Still don't like their interior design. But I buy this bit of it.
Right.
It totally changed the way I approached it. And in this brief here, you have to internalize past, present, future. You have to internalize fun and friendship and the moment. You have to internalize what modern photography and the feed is doing to us. You have to internalize sharing. You have to find out what you believe there and kind of do some work like that. Sounds real heavy, can still be real stupid, but it has to be true to you.
Love that. Incredible stuff, guys. Did we miss anything breaking down the brief? Which will be probably the name of this, breaking down the brief. That's pretty good. Anything else, fellas?
think they got the brief. I think if you can listen to Joe, you're getting some creative advice that many don't get often, or if not ever. I'm taking notes as he's talking, and I'm still even on the strategy side. And I think what's really important is, no matter the shop that you're at, there's always going to be a business problem, right? There's always going to be a business objective and a business goal. We've given you guys a really cool one to go out and attack. And as Joe was saying, being true to yourself in the way that you attack that goal and the way that you make this thing come to life is what's going to be the most important for your book, for yourself, and even just the reps and going through doing an exercise like this. So take his words, listen to him again, have the brief out, underline things, dig out things that speak out to you in your life and your experiences. And I'm going to be super pumped to take a look at the work. And I know Geno and Joe are as well.
Heck yeah. And Joe, you will look at all the submissions, right? We don't get like a million of them. So if you're listening to this, you're intimidated or you're scared or for some reason, whatever that might be, if you submit, Joe, you will have your eyes on it, So that to me, even if I'm showing myself my work, that's a great opportunity to get eyes from one of the best in the business. So I would submit.
Now, do you want me to talk about ways to work on it, ways to think about it without giving any secrets away? Should I do that?
Do it.
Go for it.
Do it. Why not?
I will say, so I have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I sometimes get to teach Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm fascinated by the way we learn in positions of stress. So my job is to put people in horribly physically stressful situations and tell them how to calmly think about it. So I think about learning a lot. I think about teaching quite a lot. I'm just going to give you a few ways to start. One of them is spend a day only thinking about it. You can be doing whatever you want. Don't write anything down. Just wander around and think about it. And the next day, anything you remember from the previous day is probably a little bit sticky. And we're looking for sticky. The stuff you forget, let go. Another one is to do the 100 thing. Just literally 100, write 1 to 100 and just write ideas. This is probably a writer's thing, but just write them out. What this lets you do is it lets you understand that probably the amount of good ideas you have depends on the amount of bad ideas you have. So your first 10, you'll think you're doing well. You'll get to 20, 30, 40, and you'll feel like, fuck, I just got to get to 100. It will just let you loosen up and get loads of things out. I think really good advice, go talk to friends, go talk to strategists you work with, go talk to other people. If you can get your hands on a product, it will change everything. I could never work on a Nike shoe, football boot, running boot, gold, whatever, until it was there. And you have to feel it, and you have to try it on, and you have to do it. If you can take some photos with it, do it. And then I would just do some free association stuff. There used to be at agencies, I'm sure if you're an agency now, somebody will have just books from photographers, stock books and books from photographers. And I would just flip through and go, and I'd be like, what does Polaroid have to do with indigenous people of the Atlas Mountains? I don't know. What does it have to do with Olympic high diving? Because what happens is you have ideas and you follow them. And sometimes you just follow them along one strand too far. And this allows you to go, don't. I sometimes do this with whatever brief I have. So those 3 were change the mode of work. Sometimes don't write anything down. Sometimes do, sure. Sometimes use a whiteboard, sometimes use a pad. But the mode of work is really important. Who you talk to is important, where you travel, and then the amount you do. Now, you can use AI. Maybe we should talk about that for a second, which is a lot of people do use it. But just understand, everyone has the same shit. So if that's the place you go, you're going to the well that everybody has. So I would say if you're going to use it to get the shit out. Use it and say, fuck, that is the generic form of global wisdom. Now where can I go? So hopefully those 3 are good modes to try and shake your brain a little bit.
This is gold. Not even just for this brief. This is incredible. We got some amazing clips here. So thank you, Joe. Wonderful. All right, then that is all we got. Joe, Cooper, thanks for joining us. And the brief will be live September 5 to December 5. Incredible stuff. We can't wait to see what you guys come up with.
Yeah, really excited. Really excited.
Enjoy it.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.